Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
And this is Beth in my closet in North Carolina.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy Veterans Day.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On this day?
On this day. I just looked at my calendar right before we started recording.
Oh my gosh. If you are in service or you have a family member, thank you for everything that you do and your sacrifices, because we know there are sacrifices.
Yes.
Thank you.
Huge sacrifices.
Yes. Big love to all you guys in service.
Yes.
Guys and gals.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's going on with you?
Nothing. Except that last week I went and got blood work done for a perimenopause thing.
Yeah. All right.
But I don't have any answers for you yet because my follow-up isn't until the 21st. So,
and I'm dying to do this also, but I want Christy to be my guinea pig because she is like a real good guinea pig. She reports back very details information. Yeah. And so I might go do this too. And I did find a place just like yours in my area. So I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
Should it become a thing?
Yeah, I'm super excited because I have just been told nonstop by my regular gyno that you will never know when you are in menopause because I haven't had a period. You're welcome, everyone, for saying all this in 20 years. And you just will never know. And I keep thinking like,
there will be signs though.
Oh my gosh, are there signs?
That's what I'm saying. That's what's prompting like, okay, let's know.
I just want to know. And if there are any supplements or anything that I can do that will like help alleviate anything, then great. Like not that I'm saying I will be gung-ho and go all in. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do when I hear what they have to say. But I'm actually just very curious if my body is in it because I know that when she says that, I'm like, yes, we can find out. We can find out. There are blood tests we can do.
100%.
And I almost feel, I've never said that to her, but also somebody else said to me that this place probably does different blood work than like a regular OB, but I don't know why.
Because isn't this like because it's a specialty. It's not just like, like if they specialize in hormone.
Can't they do the same thing and test the same things? Can't she take my blood and say, test for XYZ? She would know. That's what I'm saying. Like I like her a lot. I have been going to her since I moved here on recommendation to a friend or from a friend. But I almost feel like, I'm like, why are you not seeing me? Why, when I mention this every time and ask questions, why are you not making any other recommendations except we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Well, you're taking the bull by the horns and I appreciate it because I want also to see if I want to ride the bull.
Yeah. And this was also another recommendation from people. And so I was like, why not? Let's just give it a whirl. Give it a whirl. Let's see what happens.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
So I wanted to say that I am in my memoir era. I am reading with my AirPods all the memoirs. It's ridiculous. Actually, I just like rattled off a list of all the ones I've listened to Christy, and she was like, holy crap.
I didn't ask you this. Do you buy them all?
No. So I'm on that Audible and you get like
pay a month.
Yeah, you
pay
per month and you get the credits or whatever and all the things. Yeah, no, it would be a fortune. There's like 10 of them already that I've listened to. But anyway, so if you guys want to know what ones I'm listening to, I think I've talked about, I listened to Prince Harry's and like Britney's and stuff. But okay, so if you want to know, send me a message and I'll tell you all the memoir things. So I just listened to Lisa Marie Presley's one. Okay, and I had no idea about this woman other than she was married to Michael Jackson and was Elvis's daughter. Literally all I knew.
And Elvis's daughter.
And she was in Scientology at some point and like escaped Scientology. That I knew that also. So interesting because, okay, so she's passed, right? So it was released like just a month ago or so, posthumously by her daughter, Riley Keough. So it wasn't complete. And it is very short, I will say. But the way that it is done is like, so there's audio tapes of Lisa Marie telling her story in her words that are played in the audio book.
Oh.
So I would recommend the audio book because you hear her in her own, like it's actually her speaking. And then Julia Roberts reads all of the things that are the Lisa Marie parts, which Julia Roberts is just, she's got a great voice, by the way. Like, you don't realize how good her voice is until you just have her voice and not her, like, big giant smile and all that stuff. We love her. We're huge fans of Julia Roberts. I was really excited when I was like, read by Julia Roberts. I was like, whoa, that's a cherry on top of this little memoir cake.
Okay, so wait, you said there's audio of Lisa Marie.
Yeah, they play like certain snippets throughout the book of Lisa Marie.
But so then what is Julia reading?
So they use the audio to write the memoir.
Oh, so it's just snippets of it are in there, not
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, like so there'll be like a paragraph of her saying something in her own words about like the death of her father. That's her talking, and it's her actual voice rather than writing it and having Julia read it. But the majority of it is Julia Roberts. There's just a few little snippets in there, which is very cool. And then to fill in, Riley, her daughter, actually reads her version of what happened. So it'll be like, okay, for instance, this is what happened when my mom married Lisa Marie will talk about, or Julia Roberts will read Lisa Marie's version of her marrying Michael Jackson. And then Riley will read her, like, what, like in her words, what it was like for her at that time when mom married Michael Jackson. Does that make sense? And I'm thinking they did that to make it longer. Because it wasn't complete or whatever. So it's really neat. It's like super dynamic because it's Lisa Marie, it's Julia Roberts, it's Riley. Anyway, but the one thing I wanted to tell you, the Michael Jackson stuff is really interesting, by the way. And she does say, like, it was when all the allegations were coming out about him with the child sexual stuff. And she said she can't speak on any of that because the only thing that she knows is that when she was around him and with him, none of that was happening at all.
Okay.
So that's really all she says about that. But she talks about her dad's death. She talks about her relationship with her mom, which is real crazy. And she talks about her son. So, her son, Ben, passed. He completed suicide at a pretty young age. She kept his body on dry ice in her home for 2 months.
What?
Did you know that?
No, I don't know why I would, but why did she do that?
Well, I mean, she says that was what she needed to process his loss. And that he told her, like, he gave them, like, vibes, like, okay, guys, this is getting weird now. You need to bury me. But literally kept him for 2 months and would, like, hang out and stuff. And they had, so
where was he? Like in a room or like in the living room, in the kitchen? Like where?
No. He was in like the guest house, like the pool house.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's a better.
But so he had a tattoo of Lisa Marie's name on like his wrist or something, his arm. And then he had a tattoo of his sister Riley's name on like his collarbone. And so they decided that they wanted to get tattoos of his name in the same places that he had of their names. So they had a tattoo artist come to the house, and Lisa Marie was trying to get the positioning and like the font and stuff of hers. And the tattoo artist was like, well, do you have a picture of it? Like, it's really difficult to do what you describe. And she's like, no, I can just show you. And God bless his tattoo artist went in and saw him and the place of the tattoo. And I was like, I do not know how this was not news. Maybe it was, and I just missed it. But I'm like, whoa, baby. Anyway.
Well, I was going to say, how did that tattoo artist not just like immediately leave and be like, oh my gosh, guys, guess what happened? And like come out themselves.
He probably had to sign an NDA or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Anyway, the book is fascinating. That's all I wanted to tell you, just because I felt like you guys would be interested in that.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
It's not crimey, but it's a little morbid.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is kind of fascinating, actually.
It is. That's what I love about these memoirs, man. These celebrities, they are so dark and twisty and nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And interesting. Well, I mean, I don't have this is dark and twisty, but not like that I have for you next if you want to hear it.
I do.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right. Well, today's case was suggested by one of our listeners named Samantha, who actually worked alongside our victim in the past.
Wow.
Yes. Her note, I had to go back and read it several times since I decided to do it. Cause we write in our notes, who suggested it, where we can find, the note, whatever. Anyway. And so I went back several times during this cause I was like, wow, what was it? What did she say? Anyway, she was emotional, or at least said she was emotional, typing all of it to us.
I bet.
She described him as someone who dreamed big and genuinely just kind of saw the good in everyone, and just couldn't believe that anybody would ever want to hurt him in any way. And so it just made her super sad to know that that's what happened. So we are today diving into the tragic story of Christopher Gray.
Okay.
Who, by all accounts, was just filled with kindness and optimism and fell victim to basically unimaginable betrayal. It was awful.
Oh,
awful.
No.
Anyway, Christopher Gray was born on June 25th, 1983 in Grafton, Vermont, to parents Michael Gray and Deborah Camp.
Oh my gosh, Vermont?
Kemp. Yes, Vermont.
Oh.
Okay. Vermont and New Hampshire, because we are on the border.
Okay.
So we're in both. Grafton is a small town with just under 700 residents in southeastern Vermont. He had a sister, Jessica, and a brother, David. And though his parents later divorced, he was really fortunate to have another significant figure in his life named Annie Crowley. Christopher did not want to live with his parents as an adult because they lived in two different places at the time. And so it just was a lot for him to go back and forth. And so Annie, who was a former respite worker for him, because he is intellectually disabled.
Oh, no.
She took on the role of his legal guardian when he was an adult and was just I don't want to do this back and forth thing.
Okay.
So he lived in Groton, Vermont, which was also another small town, just under 1,000 residents, with Annie. And it's about 2 hours north of Grafton. I don't know. I'm saying that because that's where he was born and kind of raised, but I don't know where his parents are living at this time because they live in two different places. I don't know if one's in Grafton and one's somewhere else. I don't know if they're in two.
Okay.
I don't know where they're living because it doesn't really tell us that. Christopher, like I mentioned, was very special. He needed assistance with daily living due to his low IQ, and he also had a speech impediment. But he had a heart full of love. Christopher had a unique way of seeing the world and believed everyone was his friend, as most people that have disabilities do. They just don't, they're just happy and,
Yeah.
Anyway, everything's great.
We could all see the world like that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I know. I really, truly, I wish we could. I really do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, however, this meant that he missed social cues or didn't realize when someone wasn't being genuine with him.
Mm-hmm. I hate this. I already hate this.
I know. The things that made him a warm and caring person are things that actually were a detriment.
Oh.
He had a job as a cashier at the Woodsville Walmart in Haverhill, New Hampshire. So that's where we're going to New Hampshire.
Haverhill. That's where Mara Murray went missing.
I knew I recognized it, but I couldn't place it. I never can remember things like that. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Here we go. This is a slightly bigger town than the other two that we had previously mentioned. They have about 4,000 residents, but still kind of small. This town was just over the border in New Hampshire, So that's why it was like 15 miles or like 25-minute drive for Chris from his house. So it was, like me going to the city in St. Louis, but he's going into a different state for it. So he dreamed of becoming a mechanic and hoped for a future with a family. He would love to have gotten married and had kids. However, in October of 2008, takes somewhat of a dark turn. On Monday, October 6th, 2008, Christopher went to work. I believe he was 25. So wait, would that make sense? 83. Sorry, I didn't do the math on this for some reason. 83, 93, 2000. Yep, 25.
Okay.
So he's 25. So he's he's an adult. Anyway, he went to work like any other day. Around 6 p.m. that night, he called Annie and let her know that he was planning to go and hang out with a friend after work or friends, and that she shouldn't worry if he didn't come home that night. This was something that he would do sometimes, that he would be home after his shift. If he didn't come home, he would definitely be home after his shift the next day.
Okay.
And
like, they live together.
That's his legal guardian, the respite worker. So yes, he lives with her. Yes, because he does need help with his daily skills. So living skills. When he didn't come home the following night, though, after his shift, Annie began to worry. By Wednesday morning, there was still no sign of him. So Monday he leaves for work, goes to the friend's house after. Tuesday doesn't come home after the shift, which would have been like later that night, like 11 p.m. So that's when she starts worrying, when he doesn't get off and come home. So Wednesday morning, she said that she tried to sleep and probably slept very lightly on Tuesday night, and then got up and he still wasn't home. And she's like, okay, calling people. So she calls his friends, even went to visit a friend's house where sometimes Christopher would catch a ride to and from work with. They told her that they hadn't seen him since Monday evening when he left work. They stated he got a ride from someone, but they didn't know who it was. And that he was a no-show, no-call on Tuesday.
Oh, no. So, yeah.
Yeah. And which is not Christopher at all. Like, he doesn't do that stuff.
So something happened Monday.
Yes. So at this point, Annie is alarmed. So she goes home and she calls the Vermont police to report him missing. Police act quickly. They ping Christopher's cell phone. But when they do that, they realize it had been turned off since Monday night.
Oh, no.
Investigators then turn their attention to Walmart, where he was last seen. So they go over there, and they're hoping that the surveillance footage could shed light on his movements. The footage confirmed Annie's worst fears. At 11:30 p.m. on Monday, Christopher was seen inside the Walmart, and he kind of like runs or walks over to the front doors, and he like looks out the window. Then he briefly exits the building, but then returns a minute later to grab a jacket and a hat, and then leaves again.
Okay.
So he leaves for the final time. He's headed toward a dark colored sedan, which was just right outside the front doors. And they see a person come out like, so let's see, the way it's facing, they're on the driver's side back seat, and they get out of the car, let him in, and then get back in the car and shut the door, and they drive away.
Oh, so there's more than one person in the car.
Yeah, so that we have to be a driver here. And I'm assuming someone in the front seat because this person isn't in the front seat. And why they don't just let him walk around. But unless because they just know him and they're like, oh, Christopher, come on, get in the car. You know, like whatever. I mean, all they see is like a yellow sweatshirt. That's basically all they determine from that. Anyway, it leaves. So as they look further into the footage, they're like, well, let's see if we can see, you know, a different angle of this car or whatever, and see if we can get a look at the license plate. But they really can't get a clear shot of the license plate. And so the only thing that they can see were that they were white license plates, which to that detective meant that they were New Hampshire plates. So, I mean, also, I don't know what Vermont
be like Target.
Well, you know, what's actually funny is I did watch a documentary on this, and they were talking about how this was a newer Walmart, and they did have some really good security cameras at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2008, so I don't know. But I was thinking, ooh, maybe they got the Target ones. And then I was looking at some of the footage. I'm like, I don't just like Target ones.
It is phenomenal how clear those Target surveillances are. Yeah. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so with all of this happening, and now they have New Hampshire plates, the Vermont police enlist the help of the local officers in Haverhill, New Hampshire.
Okay.
When the Haverhill officer gets on board, he returns to the Walmart to examine the footage for himself. He notices two things. the car had a distinct, like he like zoomed in on it in the parking lot, and he noticed that there was a red trim across the bottom of the car, like the side of it, and it had a fin on the back of it. Remember fins? Does anybody put those on anymore? I wanted one so bad on my car.
Really? Because you're racing? That's what they're for. It's for to keep the back end of your car down when you're racing.
Well, but I didn't even care, or probably didn't even know that. I just thought they looked cool.
Hilarious.
Anyway, whatever. Anyways, don't make fun of me. Okay.
No, they were cool. Listen, I'm not back in the 90s, 2000s.
Totally wanted one on my Honda Civic.
I was going to say, especially if you have a Honda Civic. Shut the front door.
I did. I have a white Honda Civic. It was the first car I ever bought myself.
Oh my gosh. If you know, you know.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So police officer sees this red trim in the fin, and he immediately recognizes the car as belonging to a man named Michael Roby.
Oh, wow.
Had a history with the police. And so he knew. And this is like a smaller-ish community. And so like people just knew people. So Roby, though, was currently in jail on a minor offense. So he could not have been the one driving the car. He knew that. Okay. So he's like, well, we've got to figure out who's driving this car now, because clearly I know the driver isn't, or the owner isn't. And so he's like, let's watch some more footage and see if we can figure out when the car arrived to the Walmart and see if we can see anything else. So they go back more. Okay, so they observe two men when they finally find when it does arrive, exiting the vehicle earlier, and they go into the store. And so this was like well before. So they go into the indoor to the cameras that were inside, and they look at these men entering the store. They quickly identify them as 24-year-old Timothy Smith and 19-year-old Anthony Howe. Like he literally like looked at it and was like, that's Anthony and that's Timothy.
Okay, so they apparently have a rap sheet.
Well, so he did say in the documentary, his words were like, one of them I have had personal conversations with, and the other one I knew his family.
Okay.
So take that for what it is. Like, I don't know if they had rap sheets or if they just had to. Yeah. So it's not mentioned, but probably likely. Anyway. So,
okay.
All right. So then a third individual was later seen exiting the driver's seat and entering Walmart. So then again, go back to the inside footage around that time. And he recognizes her as well.
Whoa.
As 17-year-old Amber Talbot.
Oh, these are young people.
Yeah, they are young. Yeah, because what was it? 19 and 24 and 25 was Christopher. He was the oldest one. So Amber worked in the beauty department at Walmart. And Amber, the police officer knows, is Michael Roby's girlfriend and was living with him at the time, or in the house that he lived in, which explained why he had she had access to his car and was driving.
Okay.
So police go to Michael Roby's home because they know that all three of these individuals apparently somehow they know were staying at Michael Roby's home. So they go there to find them. Not home. It's empty. So soon after, though, Amber contacts police saying that she had heard that they were looking for her. And so she agrees to come in. And when she does come in, Anthony Howe is with her. So they get out of the car. The police officer greets them. And he's like, Anthony is visibly nervous about something and asks him, are there any warrants for my arrest out there? And the police officer's like, that's kind of a strange question to like initially ask. And he was just like, well, I'll let you know. Let me talk to Amber. And after I'm done talking to Amber, then I'll look into that for you.
Yeah. TBD, bud.
Yeah. Like first things first. We got a missing person here. So Amber initially claims, so they start asking her about Christopher, that she had last seen Christopher at work on Monday, and that he had asked her earlier in the day to bring him somewhere after work. Okay. So she drops him off, according to Amber, at this place called Newberry Crossing. They ask her like multiple times over and over again, and that's where I dropped them off, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, at one point, she's like, well, no, I didn't drop him off at Newberry Crossing. I dropped him off at a residence in Newberry. And so they're like, well, why?
So Newberry Crossing would just be like an area.
Yeah. So I did read in one article that they, it was like near a boat dock. So I don't know if this is just a place that they called, like if it was, that was the name of the spot, like whatever.
Right. No,
But
I
I'm
get
assuming,
it.
yeah, it's a spot inside the town of Newberry, I'm assuming.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So police are like, why did you tell us this so many times if that's like not where you told me? She's like, I don't even know where Newberry Crossing is. But anyway, so it's like, why were you saying that? Anyway, so they're kind of like, here's some inconsistencies here.
Uh-huh.
After speaking with Amber, they then go to Anthony, and he does let him know there are no warrants out for your arrest, Anthony, so don't worry. Will you come talk to me?
Okay.
So he corroborates Amber's original story, saying they dropped Christopher off at Newberry Crossing. But as the questions continued, Anthony is like visibly getting nervous again, and he all of a sudden is like, hey, can I speak to this officer by himself? I don't know why he picked him, but he then starts telling a different story to this officer.
He cracks?
Yes, he does. He cracks under the pressure.
Okay.
Well, he's the youngest one, right? Yeah, he's not. Well, no, Amber's 17, but he's 19. So anyway, Anthony told police that Timothy had invited Christopher to hang out that night. And once they arrived at the house, they went over to, I believe, Michael Roby's house.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy told Amber, hey, go to your mom's house for a while and leave us alone. The guys are going to hang out. So Anthony, Tim, and Christopher build a fire outside. They drink a few beers and they're chatting. But then all of a sudden the mood shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony noticed Timothy was growing increasingly angry at Christopher, and Christopher's just sitting there in silence because, like, he's not really even, like, understanding why Timothy's mad at him. And he's just sitting there quietly.
Is it because he's just drunk? And he's like an angry drunk?
I don't think so. I think he was just unaware that...
No. I'm saying, is the guy angry because he's drunk?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think that they had that many beers. Like, this was, like, pretty quickly after they had gotten there. So all of a sudden, Anthony's like, it was about 20 minutes later, he's like, after they had gotten home, Timothy snapped, jumps on Christopher's back, like puts an arm around his neck, forces him to the ground, and just starts stabbing him.
What?
Yeah. And at this point, Anthony's like, I'm like, what in the heck is happening? What's going on? Whatever.
A murder's going on.
Yeah. But he's like, I don't know why he was mad at him, blah, blah, blah. Anthony admitted that he then helped Timothy drag Christopher's body into some bushes nearby and then goes inside, probably presumably under like shock or whatever, cleans up the blood off his hands and distracts himself with a movie. Like he's like turns on a funny movie and tries to get it out of his mind what just happened.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, well, looks like we need to talk to Timothy now too. So police go and question Timothy. He admits to the murder, but turns it into more of like a fight that had escalated. So like he claimed that Christopher got aggressive and like there was no evidence that was true because it wasn't like Christopher had ever gotten aggressive ever because he was such a kind and caring person. But he's like, we got into a fight, it got aggressive, and it got out of hand, and I stabbed him.
I don't know what in the world is happening right now. I mean, that is crazy.
It is. It's crazy. It makes none of this makes sense. It would never make sense for anything like this to happen to Christopher.
We have had two crazy cases back to back. Like, I don't know what this is about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is an explanation for this.
Oh,
but
okay.
You're
well,
not,
good.
I mean, it still doesn't make any sense. It's silly because Christopher is who he is and there was no threat ever. But anyway. Okay. So Timothy then tells police that he initially kept the body in a barn that was close by for a few days, but then eventually wrapped it up in a green towel or blanket and brought it to Amber's house, and he buried it in a shallow grave in her backyard.
And Amber was just like, all right.
Well, Amber's not really being mentioned as like knowing that any of this happened.
Okay.
Yet. So, okay. And then he proceeds to write a short confession. And I am going to read it to you because I think it's an absolutely ridiculous thing. Like, Timothy, come on, you're 24 years old. This is what you're going to write. It says, My name is Timothy Smith, and I would like to say sorry for your loss. Me and Chris ended up getting into a fight, and I ended up stabbing him. I came out clean and told the cops about everything. He was a very good guy, and he didn't deserve it. I'm very, very sorry for what I have done. He didn't deserve what I did to him. He was a hard worker. Thanks, Timothy Smith. Like, what?
Okay. I don't mean to come off as rude, but is Timothy mentally stable? No. Okay.
Oh, mentally stable. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. Yeah.
But, like, does he have, like, any disabilities?
Not that mentally? I know of. Not that's mentioned at all.
Huh. Okay.
No. But that's the letter he wrote.
I mean, that's just such a flat affect, zero remorse whatsoever. Thanks, Timothy.
Yeah, thanks. This is supposed to be like to the family, like an apology letter to the family that he did this? No.
This is weird.
Okay, so with all of this information, police obtain a search warrant for the property, Amber's, I'm assuming it's in her mom's house, where they discover blood-stained clothing and a knife in a well. And then they find another knife in the attic in the house. And all of it has blood on it. And Christopher's body buried in that shallow grave that he mentioned.
So there were 2 knives with blood on them?
Yes, because it is stated that he was stabbing him and broke it and then grabbed another one to like finish the job. So this doesn't sound like, with that information, a fight that went wrong. You know, like, no, that's.
And also, if he stopped, Christopher must have still been alive because he felt the need to get another knife and continue stabbing him. Then that also, Anthony had a grand opportunity to stop the situation from happening.
Or it was just overkill.
Well, true.
That he was just in a rage and just kept stabbing.
True.
Which I think may be the case.
Okay.
But anyway. Okay. So they had Timothy's confession and Anthony's statement, but they were still kind of like, well, what's Amber's involvement? There has to be something more than just she picked them all up and like drove them to the house and then left. So they call her in and question her again. And she's like, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. I was at my mom's house at the time. So then police were like, well, she does have a boyfriend who's in jail. And according to her 2 friends, she's on the phone with him a lot. So they were like, let's go get those recordings of those phone calls from the prison. So they review over 200 hours of recorded calls between Amber and Michael, and they found a very chilling little snippet. In one call, Amber was heard saying, "It's done." And Michael's like, "Yeah?" And she's like, "Yeah. They killed the guy out." And she had this like giggle, like, at the end of it.
Oh.
So clearly she knew something. So when she's confronted with this recording, Amber then shifts her story again, claiming that Michael, who's in prison, was fearful of losing her and had encouraged the group to quote unquote deal with Christopher.
Okay, why?
Rumors had been spread that Christopher, well, I don't know if they were rumors. They probably may have been true, that Christopher liked Amber and had even expressed interest in dating her. So Timothy worked at the Subway. So Christopher was a cashier. Amber worked in the beauty department of Walmart. And Timothy worked in the Subway that I think was also in Walmart.
Okay.
And like at one point, Christopher had been telling Timothy like, hey, I really like Amber. I think she's pretty. I'd like to date her. I'd like to like hook up with her, blah, 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 blah. And Timothy was like, you need to stop talking like that. She's got a boyfriend, whatever. So I guess Timothy probably relayed this to his friend Michael or whatever. Or maybe Amber did.
Yeah.
So Amber, along with Timothy and Anthony, were then decided to put this plan together and to kill him. Why he had to be killed is insane because clearly he wasn't a threat. I don't think Amber was interested in him.
No.
He probably could have easily, maybe it would have taken a few times, but probably could have easily been like swayed away from like, leave Amber alone, leave Amber alone.
Yeah, how about just say, she's got a boyfriend. I don't like you, dude. I'm dating someone else. No, thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. They were ultimately charged with second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Michael faced charges of conspiracy to commit murder and conspiracy to hinder apprehension.
Okay.
Or hindering apprehension and conspiracy to hinder. So, and they all had that too, because they were all like lying at first. So they all got those two charges added on to theirs too. In December of 2009, Amber was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. Timothy and Anthony each received 40 years for their roles in Christopher's murder. Michael Roby was not found to have ordered the murder, even though because the recordings only revealed that he had suggested to teach Christopher a lesson. It was never stated like, you should kill him. But he's like, I just wanted them to beat him up and like scare him or whatever. But he still received an additional 20 to 40 years on top of his existing sentence to what he was serving.
Interesting.
The autopsy, this is where I say that it may have been overkill. The autopsy on Christopher showed that he endured over 30 stab wounds.
Oh my gosh.
So my guess is that he probably was, and had signs of strangulation. So I think at some point he was dead, and this guy just kept on pounding on him.
But Timothy had no reason to do any of this. Like, he's who to these people? You know what I'm saying?
They're all just friends.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Helping each other out. So yeah, clearly they're unstable too. But anyway, just such a brutal end to Christopher's life, who wanted nothing more than like friendship and acceptance, and he just dreamed of a wonderful world, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway. So
and maybe had a crush.
Exactly.
Like,
that's all it was.
The only thing he's guilty of, even if that's true. That might not even be true. They might have just targeted him and made that an excuse.
It's possible. It's possible. It's also possible he did have a crush, but so what?
Yeah.
So what? Anyway. So Samantha, like I said, got emotional about writing about Christopher in her note to us. And her brother worked with him. They worked in I want to say it was like a car dealership, I think. And so like she worked in like the front, and they worked in the not the mechanics part, but where they work on the cars and like whatever. So anyway, she said that no one really even saw him as disabled. Like they didn't even like see that, because it was like, I mean, I'm sure you could tell, but like they were just like, he was fun to talk to. You could have conversations with him. Like nobody saw that in him at all. And he was just nice.
He
and
was their friend.
Loved to be around him. And then he moved on and got this job at Walmart. And then they're reading about how he was murdered, and it just awful.
It is awful. That is a terrible case.
Yeah.
There was so meaningless.
Yeah.
Like our last case too. Like so meaningless. What are we doing?
I know. It's ridiculous. So there's the case of Christopher Gray.
Yes. Rest in peace, sweet Christopher Gray.
When you see a picture of him, you're going to be like, oh my gosh.
I already am like that. Oh my goodness. And I also just want to thank Samantha for trusting us with Christopher's story, because man, when it's personal to you and you pick us to speak on his behalf, that is humbling. It's an honor.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I am so sorry that you had to research this, because that would put me in a space of darkness.
I was so mad. I know. And I watched this documentary about it, and I was just like, why? Who would want to hurt this person? And the legal guardian participated in it, and just like hearing her talk about him and like thinking that she failed him. Oh, and then the last thing she says on it is, I was his legal guardian, but now I know he's my guardian.
Oh, I am unwell.
I am unwell too.
Anyway. Oh my gosh. Bless her heart too. That is, what's the name of the documentary?
It's a show called, I shouldn't call it a documentary, but it's a show called See No Evil.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's just an episode of that.
Yes. Episode. Yeah. I always call them documentaries because I'm they're giving us all the facts though, but yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, that was dark. I am going to probably watch that. So I will stay tuned for your show notes to take a peek into See No Evil. Thank you for diving in. Again, thank you, Samantha. Rest in peace, Christopher. And they're going to get out.
Yeah, there was some stuff recently in there about how, because Timothy, I think, was supposed to serve, no, Michael was supposed to serve his after, and he like appealed to the court to like drop it to let him go after, recently, but I haven't seen anything. I only saw those articles that like said he went to court pleading to be able to be let out, but I haven't seen anything more recent than that. So yeah.
Interesting. Wow. That is a harrowing tale for sure.
Yeah.
It's a terrible case. I am so sorry to hear that. But thank you. Thank you for telling his story. Thank you for diving in. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. We definitely have a Patreon where we tell also disturbing stories over there. And we are just running our little legs off trying to stay caught up here in the closet. So bear with us, but we love you very much. And we love that you let us spend your Mondays, or you let us be a part of your Mondays. That was hard for me for some reason. I'm doing great. I need coffee. Come find us on social media. We have all the things. And always remember, the world is scary. People suck. Hide in your closet.